All right. Welcome again, everyone. Today, well, I guess tonight actually, we're talking to Richmond Aisabor, who is a senior at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and he is an incoming software engineer at AT&T. And I know him in a few other ways, but I just want to give that quick, I guess, summary of where he's headed in the future. So let's talk about Rich as a person. So, Rich, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. So, I mentioned to everyone you're an incoming software engineer for AT&T, senior at SMU, but who are you behind the accolades?
Okay. So as you guys already know, my name is Richmond. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was born the son of some Nigerian immigrants. They came and most of my family still does live in like around the Brooklyn, Queens, New York area. And then so I lived in New York probably for like 2 years, and then from there I moved to Philadelphia. Lived there up until I think the fourth grade. Moved to Minnesota. Lived there from I guess towards the end of elementary school to before high school started. And then around high school is when I came to Texas, moved to Dallas, and I've been here ever since. So as far as computer science, since that's what I major in, and that's what the education I got that like got me the opportunity to become a software engineer at AT&T, an incoming software engineer. So that fascination I started um, around elementary school. So I had a summer camp I went to that gave us there was a video game design class, and it was a
Yeah,
really low budget summer camp. I think it was targeted towards like kids who had single parents and just kids didn't really like have like a lot of money to pay for like a really expensive summer camp where there'd be dorms and whatnot.
yeah,
But it was really fun. That's like where I got to start like create like a video game design class that they had at the summer camp. And I got so into it. I really like loved the process of creating software. It wasn't really coding much. It was more as design, but it was I guess what like got me started in this whole journey at the very very beginning. And
yeah,
that's how like a lot of students I think start getting into computers through video games and I guess the more fun applications of computer science. And so from there, those like memories like stuck with me. And so I
yeah.
decided I wanted to take computer science in high school, and I started that freshman year. And I also took AP computer science, but I didn't declare computer science actually until my junior year of college because I
Mm,
was more looking towards like a pre-health profession. And
yeah.
but then I ended up choosing computer science over like completing the pre-med coursework, and I haven't really looked back. And the great thing about computer science is I see it as a medium for self-expression and problem solving.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't feel like I really feel as though I can't do something to improve, I guess, the healthcare system or medicine, because with computer science, you can apply that towards medicine or whatever you want to apply it to, entertainment. So a really versatile career field and I
Yeah.
guess area of study. So yeah, and even now I'm doing research, and I just started 4 months ago, and I'm doing research with machine learning and
Oh, wow.
um, exoskeletons. Yeah, I don't think I've told you that, but that's just something new that I got
Yeah.
started in. And with this research, it should enable people who I guess have had like suffer from stroke or anything that's like um, take that took away their strength. And
Hmm.
you can look at it, think about it as like the Tony Stark like Iron Man suit. You can kind of improve your I guess physical capabilities through it. And there are a host of like I guess different diseases that can um,
Yeah.
help with or conditions.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, as a Captain America fan, thank you for coming. No, I was joking. I actually like Iron Man a lot, and I actually do think it's interesting that even though I'm a much bigger fan of Captain America, I think Iron Man and now Spider Man, at least in the MCU, they kind of do represent that trend of using tech as a superpower. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, we know with Tony Stark, there's a bit more of he was a billionaire and this and that. His dad was Howard Stark. He went to MIT, but then we see in the movies they portray it as he's trying to pass down the best of himself to Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is kind of he's kind of a combination of I just want to try to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the good guy like Captain America, but then I want to use my brain and be smart and use technology, infuse it with having good character. And he kind of draws on Tony Stark in that sense.
Hmm.
And I think that really represents the current generation of high school and college students like you. Because at least for me, being a little bit older, we didn't quite grow up the same way. But then Peter Parker is kind of like you guys saying, hey, I grew up with the tech, but I'm trying to do good because I see the previous generations, what's been going on. I want to try to do something. And until I'm in the real world, what do I do? Well, tech, it works. Just like you said, it's a very versatile field. If you want to do entertainment, medicine, you can use tech to influence all that.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
I do want to kind of backtrack a little bit. Early on, you mentioned you moved around. Parents were immigrants from Nigeria and stuff like that. And so I guess all that moving around, you're pretty close with your family, right?
Mhm.
Especially you're not just moving once or twice, you're moving all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I still so like I said before, like most of my family still lives in New York, and I was on
Mhm.
the phone with actually my cousin, and she's into fashion because New York has a pretty big
Oh,
fashion scene. But
yeah.
yeah, we still keep in touch. Yeah, just like through phone calls and that sort of thing. I haven't
Yeah.
been to New York in a while though, but I definitely should because New York's a great place.
Yeah.
Actually, so the reason why we left New York was just because at the time, so Brooklyn used to kind of be Brooklyn's not like what you think of it how it is today. Like now, if you go
Yeah.
to Brooklyn, you see a lot of
Yeah.
Soul Cycle. It's super gentrified. But back then, it was a
Yeah.
bit rough. So that's why like we left because, um, yeah, just so that I'd grow up in a better environment and I'd get
Yeah.
in positive ways. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think one of the really interesting things is um once you got to Dallas, you kind of settled in. You haven't moved since then. And then even for college, all you did was move downtown to SMU,
mhm,
which, by the way, I always thought it's interesting. That's the one school in Dallas, and it's in downtown Dallas, you
right.
know, because even UT Dallas isn't actually in Dallas, it's in Richardson. I was like, wait, what?
Mhm.
But I guess for you, despite having grown up in other places, Dallas is kind of your stomping grounds, I guess, right? That's kind of where you identify.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Um, I
Yeah.
feel I feel pretty connected to Dallas. I mean,
Mhm.
I think I told you a story about a few not too long ago about like my first like real internship, and that
Yeah.
was with like a startup that was in based in downtown Dallas, and I got to I guess connect with like local businesses around the area. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's like something that you get from going to a city college. You get those like networking opportunities, and you can really be as deeper in like a business scene, which is like
Yeah.
really helpful. And you get those experiences like early on.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage, I'd say, of going to SMU, a school like in the city.
Yeah, definitely. And then, well, depending on what part of the campus you're on, you're close to, I think, was it Mockingjay Station? Um, and then you guys have that, kind of that, I forgot the name of that tower, but you have that.
Yeah, the East Campus. That's like the
Yeah,
big like
yeah,
corporate building. Yeah, there's no classes aren't really held there. Just like I
yeah,
guess like administration and just like the running of the school happens there. But it
yeah,
is a really interesting building.
definitely, definitely. So I think, from all this stuff, you know, the path that has led to you being in Dallas, really connecting with Dallas, internships, going to AT&T, SMU, what would you say is the best advice you can give others?
Mm. So I guess the best advice I'd give others is truth will set you free. And
Yeah.
that's actually the motto for SMU is
Oh, wait,
it's the
really?
truth will yeah, it is. It's a Latin word, a Latin phrase that I just forgot. I think it's liberavit vos. But I actually took that to heart just because throughout
Yeah.
like I guess a lot of my journey, I found that the truth is like it's it's not hard to really understand, but it's pretty difficult to discover. And I
Mm,
think a lot of things, I guess, maybe I don't know, I like insecurities or just different things kind of keep us from really like I guess interfacing with the truth. And I
Yeah.
feel like we kind of all know like what it is that's like our next step on our journey to, I guess, become fully potential, to reach our full potential.
Yeah.
And it's like there, but we just don't really like completely see it sometimes. But then once we see it, then like everything becomes easy. So I guess my advice to people would be to really just look deep within yourself, as like cliche
Yeah.
as that sounds, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, figure out what it is that will get you to that next level, and just do it, and just have faith, and
Yeah.
everything will work out. So that's what I would tell people.
And I think that's the thing. A lot of people would say, "Oh, that's cliche," but then it's cliche because it's so true. It's
Yeah,
just you don't like how cliche it sounds until you realize that is the truth, and then you realize there's no way to get around it. I'm gonna have to use these cliche phrases. Of course, some of them are even more true than others, but in this case, like you said, the truth will set you free. It's kind of meta, but more importantly, if I'm not good at something, well, the truth is I need to improve. You know,
yeah,
uh, and like you're saying, it comes from the SMU model. So we're both aware SMU in I think 1989 had the whole football scandal. Well,
yeah,
SMU football is doing great again.
hmm,
Well, at some point the school had to really look inside and say, what's going on? How do we fix this? How do we go from being that powerhouse to getting the basically the death penalty from the NCAA, and then saying, okay, now we're a powerhouse again. Um, and I think it's interesting the time frame for SMU going from a regional private school to becoming a nationally elite school. It was about the same time as Duke, because I remember in
okay,
the 90s, it's not like I knew in the 90s, but I heard from alums that in the 90s we were still more kind of a decent school in the South. And then when I got to campus, I remember some of the upperclassmen telling me there used to be stuff like Harvard of the South. My class of '09, we're incoming. It's like, man, Harvard's the Duke of the North. No,
I
actually,
think
they're not even the Duke of the North. Yale's the Duke of the North because they're blue. Harvard's the not Duke, and then we labeled everything. Berkeley's the Duke of the West. Stanford's the not Duke because it's red. And it's just stuff like that. And for SMU to be on the rise for 30 some years and still be on the rise, clearly there's a lot of saying, all right, we're going to be honest with ourselves and say, what do we have as a school? How can we improve on that? So, I mean,
for
held
sure.
true to the model.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. I didn't know that Duke was I didn't know. I actually didn't know that that was like kind of like the history of Duke, because I guess throughout, like, I guess ever since I was in high school, I always thought, oh, Duke was like that school, definitely like you said, like the Harvard of the South, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder if like the basketball program had anything to do with it, like rising to like that status.
A little bit, but not entirely. Although I shouldn't say more because I'll start talking for hours about that. But yeah, I would
Yeah,
say there was some effect, getting a little bit more recognition. But I would say for the most part, I would say for the most part, it's kind of like SMU saying, how do we become an elite, nationally elite school? Oh, by the way, we have a sports program that's nationally elite. So they do go hand in hand, but it's not. I don't think it's completely connected. Even if you can say, well, financially, the funds from one area supported the other. Um, but I think we look at how our schools evolve. We can also then say, all right, to get into these schools, you have to evolve along with them, because you can't just say, here I was as a freshman, I'm good enough now, I'm still good enough as a senior in high school to get into SMU or Duke. You had to evolve through high school. So for you, it sounds like your evolution started with that the coding boot camp when you did the one you did as a kid,
yeah,
and then it led to you saying, okay, I want to stay in Dallas and go to SMU, and then from there, let me continue evolving on campus, and then now incoming software engineer for AT&T, also in Dallas. Which let's be real, Dallas does have a lot of great opportunities, so
yeah.
you don't really have to go that far.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think a lot of businesses, it's a trend that a lot of businesses are moving to Texas. So, you know,
Yeah.
Texas, and I think given the like where Texas is, it's pretty close to California. So yeah, you really don't have to go that far. You know, sometimes, yeah, I think sometimes I don't know, some of the best things are kind of in your neighborhood, you know,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, I guess kind of changing directions. Um, why do you think this evolution why do you think it's so important for you in your life to have this evolution? You know, not just, oh, I enjoyed coding, so I'm going to stick with it, but then to continue with it to say this is how you want to impact the world. You know, like you mentioned, the research you're doing, you know, other fields that you could expand into, like entertainment. What was it that led you to say you want that as your career, not just here's a hobby?
Hmm. Okay. So one thing that I guess I'm a really big proponent of, or something that I just think about a lot, is representation. So I feel
Yeah,
like, there's not like a lot of African Americans in STEM, you know, and I think
yeah,
that,
right.
and at a young age, I saw that, oh, I really love doing this, and I also like playing sports, and I also like, art, and I play guitar and stuff like that. But I just felt that I would have a greater impact if I guess stuck with STEM, because then I could
Mhm.
become that guy who's really good at STEM and who also happens to be African American. And a lot of the times I feel like as like we kind of I feel like as people were kind of afraid of freedom, and it's kind of like easier for us to conform and say, oh, like, well, the people that look like me and talk like me are all doing this, I'm just going to do that. But it goes back to like kind of like, figuring out your truth and going after like what you really love. And I think I guess the impact I'd like to make is, as I go and like pursue what I love, and as I commit myself to excellence, I hope that people can see me and say,
Yeah,
hey, like, I can, maybe coding is for me too, maybe I don't know, I'll like put myself in that environment where like I don't, like, I might be a little bit different, or it might be a little awkward, but it's what I love to do. I and also I think by people having somebody that like maybe looks like them that's doing something different, that opens up opportunities for other people who, maybe historically didn't um, ever see themselves doing that thing. Or even, I'd also maybe even not just like with African Americans, but maybe even like Asian Americans, like Jeremy Lin, like a very, very popular Asian celebrity. And I think that through people seeing Jeremy Lin, other people who never really thought they might be very athletic could say, hey, maybe sports is like a career that I can go out and do. So
yeah,
that's like how I guess representation is one way I'd like to impact other people as I go through my career. And
yeah,
also, like my parents were like immigrants, and one thing that attracted them to this country was the American dream, like a lot of other people. And
mhm,
the American dream was something was super. It's still like a really beautiful, I guess, concept. But I think for a lot of people, it's, I'm gonna become successful, make money. I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna have like the nice house, the nice like vanilla like suburb and neighborhood, and
yeah,
that's how I'm gonna live my life. But I think to take that a step further, you have to like use that success to like serve other people, and that's what I hope to do. And I feel like I've gone to a place of a position of like success, and I'm not like, obviously, like, I hope to accomplish more, but I think
mm,
like I'm in a good position to actually serve my community with what I'm doing. And that's and as I evolve in my career, I hope to like continue to like have that mentality and serve others, through my
yeah.
skills and my ambition and everything.
So it sounds like these are really long-term ways you want to impact others, not just like, you know, like you're saying, hey, I'm African American and I'm in STEM, but then, like you said, to also inspire future generations to say, I don't know what else to do, but I'll follow his footsteps. And it's like I often say, imitate until you can innovate. Some people conform, not necessarily because they're scared. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they just don't know what else to do. But if there's a path they can follow, they follow that. And then once they reach a certain point, they can innovate on their own lives. And I think what you're saying is, yeah, I want to blaze that trail for them, pave that road so they can follow my path. It's just this, you know, speedway. Once they get to the end, then okay, figure out your next step. But at least you've gotten this far.
For
So
sure.
I think one of the interesting things is, you know, we talked primarily about, you know, what you want to represent, but you've also already impacted others while you were on campus. And I think this is one of the interesting stories, one of the most interesting stories, because the past 4 years I've been creating hackathons for all the major campuses, and then I pass them on to the student groups. And usually the team members who are in charge now, or in your case, outgoing because you're about to graduate, they were part of organizing the first edition. I would mentor everyone on how to do that, but your situation was different. You actually didn't, if I remember correctly, you didn't even know Hack SMU was going to happen, or it was being organized, until pretty much when it happened, right?
Yeah, that did happen. It was like I think I was told maybe a day before, and it was just like in my I think I was in data structures, and
Yeah.
they just told me, hey, like if you guys want to volunteer, Hack SMU is happening, and but it wasn't like I definitely wasn't formally or cordially invited to go out and serve in that way. I just kind of like just it's like yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, for example, Mulman was working through winter break. Sabrina, even while she was already studying abroad, took the first 3 days out of her study abroad to continue building up some of the social media and website stuff. I was helping them coordinate all the paperwork and all that stuff and the logistics of the event. And we're trying to recruit people to join the team eventually. And then what I remember is you come in and you had a broken leg. And
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I'm here to help out. I was like, oh, well, I guess you could just, just kind of monitor in this area. Here's a walkie-talkie, call us in if, someone has questions. And then uh next thing I know, you're just going all over the place. You're checking on food, you're hoping to unload food, you're helping direct people, hey, here's the next talk. And I was like, wait, you don't have to, you only have one leg. And you're just like, oh, but just got caught up in the moment. I was like, what? But you only have
Yeah,
one leg.
I know. It's so at the time I was injured for a while, and
Yeah.
honestly any like opportunity to kind of move because I think at that point I could like I just started like moving because I had a boot, but before
Yeah.
then I had like a kind of like a wheelchair almost, and that
Mm.
was tough. And I was just like so happy to kind of move around, and obviously I'm in like an environment with like a bunch of people who are into tech, and I'm into
Yeah.
tech, and I'm just like I guess like going ham. So yeah, thank you for also organizing Hack SMU and like creating that
Hey.
platform for other people.
Yeah. And you're welcome, because the interesting thing is, even though you had no organizing experience for the first one, and then for the second one, you did pretty much the same thing except with two legs. Uh, so you had actually never organized any hackathon until the third Hack SMU, which for that one, Nathan and Charlotte were the leader. So first, Momo was the leader for that first one. Sabrina, passed down to Sabrina, and then Nathan and Charlotte. And you went from just volunteering with one leg to volunteering with two legs to the logistics coordinator, except it was for the first online Hack SMU.
Yeah, that definitely gave me a really like unique perspective, with like I guess hackathons. So I got to two in-person hackathons, and now I'm organizing a virtual hackathon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun. I mean, the virtual hackathon was so as a logistics coordinator, I mostly just handled I guess the schedule. So I created a schedule of like how the events would go. I
Yeah.
also like did a lot of research as far as like the technology that we are going to use to I guess allow people to connect with each other,
Yeah.
and was making sure everything like was just like every little thing was just every little detail was um just fit in and meshed with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most of that experience came before the actual event because the difference with like an in-person one is you're kind of organizing and
Mhm.
everything's kind of dynamic, in the moment. But a
Yeah.
virtual one, everything's just like set in stone. Um, all the instructions are all like written out, and everything's very organized before it starts. So then now it's just like about like following, I guess, a set of guidelines. And
Yeah.
so the whole experience was like I guess like before the actual virtual hackathon. That felt like
Yeah.
the more of the experience in that event.
Yeah. And I think one of the really interesting things is, because you had not seen the actual organizational stuff, but as a volunteer, you experienced directly what the participant sees. and then you also saw what the organizers had to deal with the day of. So then when it was time for you to run the event ahead of the actual event, because if it, like you said, it's virtual, you have to have everything planned out already. You can't just be on the spot and say, oh, hey, let's move the sign from here to here. The talk is
Mm,
going from room A to room B.
for sure.
You had to already think through before the event, you had to think through the event from start to finish.
Mm,
And even though you had not been part of the organizing team yet, you actually, in a sense, had more experience than anyone on the team because you were the only person left who had been at all three, or I guess you had been at the first two Hack SMUs, where after Sabrina, there was no one else who had been at the original and then the second. And so um, I remember when you told me, yeah, I'm going to be doing that stuff, I was like, well, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. That's why Nathan and Charlotte, they definitely thought that, like, given my experiences, like being in charge of logistics would be the best, I guess, way to use me for the event. And I felt I was really excited to get to be the logistics coordinator.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, obviously we should go ahead and clarify that Nathan and Charlotte did an excellent job. They learned a lot from Sabrina, who was always just on point with everything. And, Momin was always enthusiastic, getting the word out. And Carter was also part of the original team. Uh, but then obviously the rest of the new team, saying, here's the original team, me, Momin, Carter, Sabrina, and then now it's me, Carter, Sabrina, and then having a larger number of volunteers, which included Nathan and Charlotte, who were starting to come on, and Sabrina was starting to train them the way I trained her, I trained Momin. And then this
mm,
year to kind of say, okay, other than you, the team was kind of for the first time on their own, because my policy has always been I do it once or twice and then I pass it on, because if the system doesn't work without me, now I'm not doing my job. If I'm an educator, if I'm
uh-huh.
here to mentor and train, I need to make sure that at some point everyone can do it without me. And
Mm,
then, now moving forward, the team is very stable. They have stable growth. They can replenish everyone. The events will keep happening. And, obviously, Nathan and Charlotte have done a great job. And I know there's a lot of other people that I haven't exactly met. And part of it, online, I don't remember names. So I meet them online. I need to meet them in person. Otherwise I don't, it's just kind of harder for me to connect if it's not in person. But definitely Nathan and Charlotte have done an excellent job. And, now that you're graduating, it's like, all right, let's see how the team keeps evolving.
mhm,
So I think I kind of want to change directions because when we
okay.
first talked about before you were a logistics coordinator, we were talking about kind of going into your senior year, some of the stuff that you had in mind, or I guess maybe it was the end of your junior year after Hack SMU 2. We were kind of talking about, what do you want to get involved with the third? What do you want to do? And I remember one of our conversations. That's when you were saying, uh, we were at that, I think that chicken nugget place or something. I forgot, but maybe it's chicken waffles. But me and you were talking about some of the
Mm,
similarities we had growing up, and one personal thing that came up for both of us is, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but it came up that we both really want to do stuff for our families. And one thing that you really talked about was how close you are with your mom. Um, I remember she had come to campus to give you stuff, and uh, you know, amazing woman. And I'm just sitting there
thank
thinking,
you.
man, they're really close. And so far we've talked about the impact you want to have on other people, the impact you've had for your classmates, leaving a legacy at Hack SMU, the impact you've had on your teammates and yourself. But I think we would not be doing this right if we don't mention the impact you've had on your mom. Of course, she's had the impact on you, but
Mm,
um, I think one of the interesting things is you were saying that you want to buy a house for your mom, you want to do these things, and we are joking, oh yeah, same thing that NBA players do. They buy all this stuff for their parents.
yep.
And in a different way, you actually have bought a car for your mom. Not in the way most people imagine it, but you actually have bought a car for your mom already, right?
Right. Yeah. In a way, like you actually. put my awareness to it, because I guess like I do different like little things for mom, but yeah, by so I let her borrow my car for a while, because I got a new car, and her
Yeah.
car got like stolen, which was really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I just said, hey, like, I can walk. I live on campus. You could just use my car for, and she used it for like almost about, I think about like 7 months,
Yeah.
and anytime, she needs it, she can always use it. But yeah, like, I guess little things like that is kind of, well, not little, it's not, I guess not a little thing, it's really not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, I love my mom so much. She's been a really great role model to me. She's made a lot of sacrifices for me. It might have been like easier for her to be in New York with like family, but she said, no, I would think Richmond deserves like something better, a better like environment. So let's move out. And also just making sure that I got to go to the best schools, even though that like came with some like its own like financial burden.
Yeah.
Um, but it was all to, I guess, get ourselves to this stage. And um, yeah, she's a good woman.
Yeah.
I hope one day the audience gets to meet her, because she's something.
Hey, maybe we bring her on for an interview or something.
Yeah, she would love to, I'm
I
sure.
think the interesting thing is because when you were saying, yeah, my mom's borrowing my car and this and that, um and you were saying, yeah, I hope one day I can buy a car for her. I was thinking, wait. It's winter. You've been walking around campus when you could just drive around, and Dallas doesn't, unless you have a car, you can't really get around. So I'm sort of thinking, she's had your car for months. Doesn't that mean you actually bought this car for her, whether you meant to or not? It's like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, I think you did buy a car for your mom, you know?
yeah,
But
that
it was
was
just really
good.
funny because it took me a while to realize, wait a minute, I think you're saying you want to buy a car for your mom, but I think you already did.
Hmm.
Okay, there you go. So, but yeah, I think it's really important to point out to a lot of people, Dallas, you absolutely have to drive. There is public
Yeah,
transportation, but it just isn't good enough. Not that
it's
it's
tough.
a bad system, it's just that Dallas is sprawling, so you
Hmm.
need public transportation once, or you can use it once you're in the downtown area. But even then, driving is just as effective. And outside of the downtown area, you absolutely must drive. So, for you to actually say, hey, mom, here's my car, I'll just walk around. It's like, and it's winter. I hate
Yeah, it's
winter.
winter.
I mean, I guess I don't hate winter, but I just, it's not as fun as summer for me. And I'm starting thinking, wait, you actually already bought a car for your mom, just not in the order you imagine. You would imagine buy a car, give it straight up to her, where in this case, as you bought a car, and then, oh, hey, mom, you need it? Here you go.
Hmm. Definitely, yeah.
So, so yeah, you're already giving back in the family, impacting your own mom. And, obviously, all the stuff that you've done, becoming a software engineer to try to inspire future generations, whether it's kids from Dallas, from SMU, African American kids, um, saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna help out with Hack SMU," and then, "Oh, I'm the logistics coordinator, and I'm gonna bring the experience I have, the unique experience I have as being as close to the founders as possible, and contribute to the new leaders, Nathan and Charlotte, who weren't involved with the first one. For you to then say, hey, I bought a car and oh, mom needs it. All right, here you go. And,
Hmm.
along the way, I think one of the amazing things is you've always been humble and willing to self-sacrifice, because it could be easy for someone to say, I've been to the first two Hack SMUs, I should be the leader, where you're like, hey, look, I don't have to be, I'll just contribute the experience. So Hack SMU 3 runs smoothly. Oh, by the way, it's virtual. It still runs smoothly, and that bridges over to Hack SMU 4. For you to say, I have a car, but I'll just walk in the winter on campus, and we know the wind in Dallas is really strong.
Hmm. For sure.
So,
That's
uh,
one thing I want to like say about that is I think it's best. I think leadership, and there's different kinds of leadership, and I think leading
yeah,
by example and is like important. So like kind of going back to representation also. Um, I guess finding out what it is that how you can create the most value, even if that doesn't really give you the most status or doesn't like put you, I guess, on like it doesn't make you like king of the hill. And I
Yeah.
know, the time that I was studying Bushido code, which was like almost like a philosophy of like the samurai, the ancient samurai, and it talked about how people should do what they can do, you know, at the service of others, and what how you can serve others the most you can possibly serve. And maybe that isn't being the president of America, or it's having that executive role, but it's still I guess just as important.
Yeah.
So
Which it's interesting because I know you're interested in you mentioned Afro Samurai with Samuel O. Jackson,
yeah,
and then that one time I was telling you, wait, I think that might be based on an actual African who became a samurai, and it
yeah,
was
it's
like,
just like
wait, wait, that was a real guy? I think so. At least currently research indicates he might have been from Mozambique. Um, so you know I don't know. Maybe when they do the sequel for Afro Samurai, maybe they got to bring you in now.
yeah, yeah,
Your
for
apprentice
sure.
to Samuel L. Jackson or something.
Yeah, I don't know, samurais and like ninjas and I guess ancient warriors definitely did like interest me a lot when I was like younger.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're really cool.
yeah. And now, as opposed to using martial arts, you have tech, you have coding.
Hmm.
Um, I guess all of this comes back to which I didn't realize this, but you said that your mom, she was the reason that you're here in Dallas. I thought it was just your family kind of moved to based on circumstances, but you're
Hmm.
saying she made sacrifices actively to get you out of Brooklyn to other places and eventually here in Dallas. So
Hmm.
I guess, it's clear, who would you think in your life? Your mom would be the first person, and
Yeah,
she would
yeah.
be that would be the biggest things, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
I,
she was. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just thinking, yeah. So, I guess, what do you want to say about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, she would definitely be the first person I would thank for like
Yeah.
some of the sacrifices she's made, and also just like kind of being a leader. And
Mhm.
I also would like to thank, in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., I guess all the freedom fighters,
Yeah.
because without them, I definitely wouldn't like have some of the opportunities that I have today. And even though my parents are like Nigerian immigrants, and sometimes people like to see people from Africa or the Caribbean as like something kind of different just because of the different like culture, I guess the slight cultural differences between maybe some of the African Americans who came through like slavery and everything.
Mhm.
We all, as I guess, like, we all like have something to thank, or should thank these people for giving us opportunity, even as other minorities too.
Yeah.
Like, because it wasn't just like African Americans that um, all the like, segregation and Jim Crow and all those things affected. It was a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and I think one of the key things that always stood out to me growing up was learning the "I have a dream" speech. And like you said, it's not based on your skin color; it's the character of the person. And in that case, it doesn't matter what you look like. And not to discount representation, which we both understand, especially for young African American men to see you and say, "Oh man, I can do that." Like you're saying, it's yes, that's part of your life, but then you're also setting an example as a person to show,
Mhm.
hey, it's not just going and making money in this field, it's also giving back, it's also being a role model for others in the future. And then to for the moms who bring their kids out of rough areas into places like Dallas, to other neighborhoods, for their kids to then say, hey, maybe I can grow up and buy a car for my mom. And I think,
Mhm.
you know, um, definitely, it makes sense. Big thanks to your mom, to Dr. King, rest in peace. Um, yeah, I guess, do you have any last words? Is there anyone else you want to add to the list?
Um,
A lot of people, I guess.
yeah, there's a lot of people. There's definitely a lot of people, a lot of different. But those are the main two I'd like to thank. And
Yeah,
I just want to add on to how I guess we can like. I just want to also say that you know, yes, you could anyone can like kind of help out the community in any way. You can volunteer. There's definitely like lots of people who would like want like young bright minds to help them out with stuff. And
yeah,
also, I think working at startups, like I told you about that like startup I worked at earlier, I didn't
yeah,
really make a ton of money because a lot of like startup owners aren't like aren't like AT&T and Google and places like that that have like a ton of data, a ton of money, and can like
yeah,
compensate you so much. But it's like it's I guess the rewarding part of that is the experience and as taking that initiative and just learning how to like serve people in your community,
yeah,
because I think that the way society is, we kind of forgot about the community and how important it is to um, be there for each other.
yeah, definitely. And like you said, the truth will set you free. It's clearly
Yeah,
always been a big part of your life. The sacrifices others have made, whether it was recognizing the truth in their lives that impacted you, and then making the sacrifices. You know, I mean, it's clear why you're at SMU, and because you
hmm
really embodied that model. What better way than you know than to be at that school and then carry that forward into the world, the real world.
hmm
So, I think definitely want to close out and say, um, it, I've known you for a few years now, and I think you're a great representation of SMU, just like all the others I met, all the other Mustangs, and like I've always said,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's just like all
definitely, yeah,
I said, being able to work with you guys and then go from mentoring you guys to now just being, oh yeah, we're just chilling, chatting, let's get dinner, let's get lunch, whatever. Um, yeah, so it's been a great experience. And obviously with Mullen being on the board for the nonprofit, it's like, clearly it's been a great experience. So
for sure.
uh, definitely excited to see what else you do the rest of this semester as you graduate, as you move into the real world. Um, I guess, yeah, it's just like I said, it's amazing to have you on. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Maybe next time
Scotty.
we can bring your mom on, so interview
Yeah,
her.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's like if you want to like learn more about me, then that's definitely like a big resource to get to know about me. And yeah, she'd love to probably be on at some point. So
Yeah,
yeah, stay tuned for my mom, guys. So stay tuned. But thanks, Scotty. Thanks for having me. And I'm glad that I could like I guess represent and serve in this way.
yeah. Thanks for your time. And anyone, if you want to connect with Rich, we'll have some contact information in the video description. Definitely feel free to reach out. Like he says, the truth will set you free. He's definitely open and willing to help you out. And uh, yeah, some of it is you just got to be willing to recognize the truth for yourself and then start working on that truth, saying what's the next step. So thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully this has been entertaining for you. This helps you find out what to do with your life, your next steps, and stay tuned for more on this channel.